Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Post season 2 here in Warzone, we've got some pretty interesting choices for some of the fastest TTK options in the game. Some are a little bit more obvious. We've mentioned how good they are when it comes to TTK in the past. Others, though, are a bit more surprising. Weapons that you might initially look at and say, I don't really know if that thing's even worth using, but it actually has some pretty crazy performance if you know what you're doing with it, right? So today I wanted to break down the top 5 fastest TTK weapons and loadouts we've got after the season 2 updates. So starting first here, bit more of an obvious one, a weapon that we've talked about a decent bit as of late, but also one that I really enjoy using just because it's not the same jackal spam over and over, and that is the Kompakt. All the stats here today in terms of TTK values are stemming directly from true game data. They are tried, true, and tested. And with the Kompakt at 10 meters, so like prime SMG range in its first damage range, it's got a 605 millisecond TTK. That's about as fast as it gets, fastest in the SMG category there. There is a major factor here, and that's accuracy. Because of how fast this fire rate is, you burn through ammo. So any shots that aren't landing on target are unfortunately going to catch up to you real quick because you're going to have to stop and reload. So with that in mind, I really do focus on control a lot in this setup. First up here, typically where I'd run a suppressor on an SMG, I do run a compensator because I do want that better vertical control to make the weapon easier to use so I can land more shots on target more consistently. Ranger foregrip's also going to help out with my horizontal control there, but at the same time, it's also giving me some sprinting movement speed, so that's going to be really convenient. It's a win-win for me. Some control and some mobility on an SMG is awesome. Extended 3 here is going to be 60 rounds. This is the max. Even with 60 rounds, you're still going to burn through ammo. There will still be a lot of reloading, but at least with 60, you can prevent that reload from happening for a little bit longer. It's not much, but it's something than like extended 2, which is only 50, right? So that one is also going to be pretty important here. I like ergonomic grip a ton for mobility-based upgrades up close with the slide to fire and ADS. I'm constantly slide canceling in and out of gunfights, and so this stat being fast is really important. The ADS is 200, so any speed increase we can get on that is going to be pretty important as well. Then lastly, I do go for recoil springs here too, just straight up for better control across the board. Again, focusing on accuracy there, making sure that I'm getting the most out of each and every bullet that comes firing out of this thing at an insane rate of fire. So definitely a different feeling SMG if you've just been on the main meta options for the past season or so, but also one that is incredibly rewarding. Now another SMG that's actually surprisingly good is going to be the base Striker from Modern Warfare 3. Initially, the Striker and the Striker 9 were both fantastic. When Black Ops 6 Warzone dropped, for whatever reason, they hard nerfed the Striker 9 and left the base Striker as being very consistent. This is more so like a sniper support style SMG in my opinion, because all the way out to 19 meters, pretty good sniper support territory, it's got a 651 millisecond TTK. That is a range and a TTK at that range that other SMGs, whether they're MW2, MW3, or even Black Ops 6 versions, just don't have. This thing's got incredible range for an SMG. It's also conveniently pretty easy to use. It does have that MW3 weapon feel, but nonetheless, it's still very usable, right? Initially, not a huge fan of the irons, especially in some of those mid-range fights, so I just go for a slate reflector here. A night arrow would work well. If there's a different scope that you're comfortable with, of course, go ahead and run that, right? I also go for the sonic suppressor. This is going to help out with some range and some velocity on there. When we're stacking all these things together, like for instance the recon long barrel as well, we end up with a 667 velocity, and then the effective damage range is going to be 13.9, but factoring in combination shots, it'll extend out a little bit further than that on true game data's graphs and whatnot. Jack Slash is actually pretty convenient here for an underbarrel. It gives you some control vertically, but then also some movement speed as well. So you're more aggressive and you're getting some good control, kind of like the inverse of Ranger foregrip, which is doing horizontal control. This just does vertical, but then you also get movement benefits out of it. And then of course the 60 round extended mag, pretty basic there. You're not going to necessarily burn through ammo like you would on the Kompakt with 60 here, but that'll suffice for pretty much any squad size. So definitely a unique approach to sniper support just because it is an MW3 option, but a very fun one nonetheless. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you enjoy the video, you find it helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated, truly does help grow the channel. And if you happen to be new to the channel, or maybe you have not subscribed yet, we should change that every single day. I got you covered with news, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns, everything going on in COD is right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and help us get one step closer to reaching 1 million subscribers. Next up, another MW MW3 option that's still crazy. I mean, this was like a meta choice all throughout MW3 Warzone and now still is here in BO6 Warzone, the MCW with the conversion kit, the Jack Raven kit. So again, more so a sniper support style setup here at 20 meters, again, prime sniper support territory. This has a 600 millisecond TTK, so even faster than the striker at that distance. It's also decently agile, despite the fact that yes, it is still an assault rifle, because the Raven kit does speed it up quite a bit. So this is a really fun option to pair with your car or your cat or your LR762 or your Frostline or whatever, right? Here again, not a huge fan of the iron, so I go for the Nightar model 2023 in this case. Spirit Fire Suppressor is going to help out with some range and some velocity on there. We got a 547 velo. That's all right. It could be better, but it'll work just fine. Then also that almost 22 meter effective damage range as well on there. The 40 round extended mag is going to be the max here. This is definitely the biggest hindrance of this loadout, or limiter of this loadout. It's not a 50 or a 60. You can still work with 40 just fine, but you're gonna have to spend more time reloading. Jack Cutthroat on here I think is pretty clutch as well. Helps out with movement, strafe, aim walking, steadiness, so it's more aggressive and a little bit easier to use at the same time. I really like that for a sniper support style build. And then obviously we've got the Jack Raven kit on here, the most important part of the entire setup, right? Completely changes this weapon and makes it a true meta contender and gives it that crazy good TTK. Hey guys, real quick, wanted to give a shout out to my friends over at G Fuel. They just launched their brand new variety pack for their hydration and focus sticks. These things are so good. Plus it's hydration and focus, no added caffeine. So if you're just simply looking to stay hydrated, these are a fantastic option. Of course, they've also got all their tubs, the cans as well. So they've got something for everyone, whether you're looking to stay energized or hydrated or focused. Now, code Immortal is going to help you get a discount on all of that. So if you want to pick up something for yourself, use the link down in the description below, or just simply throw in code Immortal at checkout. Another familiar face that we've talked about a couple of times recently is the Goblin Mark II. This thing is probably the highest skill gap weapon, or close to, on the list here today, but it's high risk, high reward. It's semi-auto, so if you can spam this thing fast, it's going to have a crazy TTK. At 43 meters, we're looking at a 703 millisecond TTK, which is outgunning pretty much every mid to long range weapon in the game, right? That's pretty wild, and I think it's decently easy to use for being a semi-auto gun, especially because you can go through and add rapid fire on here, which conveniently only hurts your control and not the range or the velocity like it does on a lot of other weapons where it's available. So if you can control this thing and still spam it fast, you have insane potential with this thing for sure. Extended 2 here is going to be a 50 round mag. That's going to be plenty of ammo for a semi-auto gun, so you don't really have to worry about that too much there. Reinforced barrel helping out with that range and that velocity, extending that out even more. So we've got nearly a 55 meter range there. Then the velo is 943. That's going to be sufficient for pretty much every realistic fight you're getting into. Basic suppressor will keep me off the radar. If you want added control, you certainly could use a compensator if you're okay with showing up on the minimap. But then lastly, whatever optic you are comfortable with. For me, that's typically the Willis 3 times or the Jason Armory 2 times. You could bounce back and forth there and see what works for you. But if there's something else that works, go for it. Just use whatever you are familiar with and you know you're going to be accurate with, and you've got yourself a higher skill gap, but also an extremely rewarding weapon in the Goblin. And then lastly here, another higher skill gap weapon, but an also insanely crazy weapon that has maybe the most potential out of anything in the game if you know what you're doing with it, and that is the Tempus Torrent, because at 48 meters, it's got a 629 millisecond TTK. That is, of course, factoring in you basically firing at the max fire rate or getting as close to as possible. But simply put, if you can spam this thing and stay on target, there's essentially no other weapon in the game that's going to outgun this thing at that range. Difficult to use? Yes. Incredibly rewarding? Absolutely here. It is obviously not a BO6 gun, so its feel is going to be a little bit different. So is the attachment selection. Again, I like the Nightar here. A 2 times, a 3 times could also be very practical in this case if you're focused more on specifically the mid-range there. But if you're comfortable with something else, again, go for it. Spirit Fire Suppressor helping out that range and that velocity on there. I do also go through and I stack high grain on here. If you wanted to opt for more control elsewhere, you absolutely could, but I do like the benefits here of the added range and the added velocity. We're up over 1,000 for our velocity, and we got a 20 meter effective damage range, and the drop off there is super you know, forgiving, if you will, so you're not going to suffer from that too much. Hex 40 underbarrel is going to work the same as any other vertical underbarrel and just give us better stability and recoil control, so makes it a lot easier to use as you are spamming it. And then of course you want as much ammo as possible to spray and pray and achieve that fast TTK without having to worry about constantly reloading, so we go for the 50 round drum. Pretty basic option there, but definitely a unique weapon that you probably look at and you're like, oh, the Tempus Torrent marksman, yeah, I'm good. But if you got a good trigger finger, if you know you excel with semi-auto guns, this is maybe the most rewarding in the entire game. But that being said, it's going to wrap things up for this one. Those are 5 of the fastest TTK options here in Black Ops 6 Warzone after the Season 2 updates. That is going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee that on a daily basis, you're in the know for everything going on in COD. Feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I'll catch you later. Peace out.